My name is Candace Marie. I was born in Oklahoma, raised in Arkansas, and moved to New York City 14 years ago to pursue a career in fashion editorial. Well, at least that's what I thought at the time. Growing up in the South, working in fashion felt like something completely out of reach. I didn't come from connections, but I did come with curiosity, discipline, and an eye for opportunity. When I got to New York City, I landed roles and worked really hard for publications like Vogue magazine, Essence magazine, and Lucky magazine. I assumed that this would be the trajectory of my career in fashion. As a freelance editor at that time, social media roles weren't even a thing. So not only did I write the articles, I also wrote the captions for Facebook and Twitter. In doing so, I noticed something fascinating. Those captions often drove more traffic than the actual article itself. That small detail sparked something major for me. I realized I wasn't just passionate about writing, I was also fascinated about how stories spread, how they connected, how they moved. That moment shifted my entire career path. I leaned into digital, I followed that spark of curiosity, and it led me to a world of storytelling that I didn't even know existed. That curiosity pulled me deeper into the world of digital storytelling, and eventually into social media roles. First at Refinery 29, next at Barney's New York, and then overseeing social media for Prada USA. And in the middle of a pandemic, yes, the height of uncertainty, I made the terrifying but freeing decision to leave my corporate job and go out on my own. But I didn't do it without a plan. Before I exited Prada, I negotiated with them to take them on as a client, and they said yes. And that became the single step and the bridge to everything else. Since then, I've consulted for major celebrities and top corporations such as Salesforce, Kering, Prada, Victoria Beckham Beauty, and more. I taught at Parsons, teaching their very first master's social media course. I've also taught a masterclass for Meta, as well as moderated and sat on panels for Squarespace, Forbes, and many more. At the end of last year, I launched my first digital product, the 75 Not So Hard Social Media Guide. A guide intentionally designed to be approachable for anyone looking to restart and recharge their social media accounts while building lasting habits but not feeling overwhelmed. That product to date has sold thousands of copies through pure organic social media alone. No press, no speaking engagements, just real conversation, real community, and the power of connection. And just a few weeks ago, I launched my very first masterclass, The Art of Partnerships. This course was created for corporate professionals, entrepreneurs, and creators looking for a clear and actionable framework for securing and growing social media partnership. And now I'm here at Adweek to talk about what meaningful partnerships really look like and how we can craft them with care, culture, and purpose. And somehow I'm going to do this in under 7 minutes. So let's start here. Partnerships aren't just transactions. The most meaningful collaborations are rooted in storytelling, shared value, and thoughtful alignment. We often think about numbers, algorithms, reach, but strip all of that away, and what's left is a person on the other side of the screen. And when you keep that human in mind, the way you approach a partnership shifts. It becomes less about pushing content and more about creating conversation and connections. I didn't build my career going viral. I built it on vision and values. Social media partnerships weren't even part of my plan, but I saw an opportunity to blend storytelling with strategy, and I leaned fully in without a manager, without an agent. Let me give you a few real-world examples that shaped my understanding of meaningful partnerships. Let's start with me teaching a masterclass for Meta. This was one of the most affirming experiences of my career. But here's the thing, Meta didn't come to me, I went to them. I pitched a concept centered around creator education and social strategy. I had the experience. I had oversaw social media at Prada. I had led a master's course for Meta and Parsons School of Design. I had been part of launching the creator Instagram account to consulting for major brands, but I had never done something like this before. But I knew I could bring value. I spent time outlining the gaps I saw in social media economy, especially around the education piece. And rather than waiting for permission, I designed the framework, wrote the curriculum, and led the session. It ended up becoming one of those full circle moments where everything I had done on the corporate side, the consultant side, and as an adjunct professor came together. I wasn't just giving strategy, I was sharing my actual lived experience, and that made all of the difference. Then there's Crate and Barrel. I had never worked in the home space before. I didn't even know the Crate and Barrel team, but I knew I had something to offer. I pitched them while I was still at my 9 to 5. I had a fraction of the social media following that I had now, but I had clarity. I showed them my home, my photography style, and how much intention I put into my home space. I also explained that as an introvert, which is surprising that I'm up here, home wasn't just decor. It was my sanctuary. It was where I found peace. I built a pitch rooted in storytelling and authority and authenticity. And the moment that I heard back from the Crate and Barrel team saying we would love to work with you, I was genuinely moved. It felt like another full circle moment, proof that sharing from a real place can open real doors. And when the campaign launched, it happened to align by by chance with the cultural shift during the rise of Black Lives Matter. I was already going to tell the story of safety, sanctuary, and belonging. That authenticity created something bigger than a brand post. It created an authentic impact. The initial pitch turned into multiple campaigns with Crate & Barrel, as well as my home being featured in Architectural Digest and Domino Magazine. The major lesson this taught me is that I didn't have to be loud in my approach, but aligned in my approach. And what do these stories have in common? Because it wasn't about the metrics. They were about meaning. And when done right, metrics will naturally follow meaning. A great partnership isn't built on follower count or click-through rate. It's built on clarity, consistency, and conviction. You have to know your story, believe in your voice, and be willing to bet on it. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to be a yes, because it rarely is. A lot of brands said yes to my proposal, but a lot of them said no. But I remembered a lesson from my finance days. Diversify your portfolio. I would take the time to pitch intentionally, stay authentic, and say yes only when it aligned with who I was. And for those of you who might be in the room, who are on the brand side of things, looking to hire for a social media partnership, I urge you, look beyond the surface level numbers. Seek out talent who have deep communities, who reflect your values and align with your brand. One thought that I've shared many times in internal conversations, especially when coaching social media departments, is this. If I get 300 likes on a post, most brands will deem that as low engagement. But if a company is able to sell 300 of its products through one creator, that's not low impact. That's proof of real conversion. Your job is to find those who are deeply in touch with their communities. I built my first digital product, the 75 Not So Hard Social Media Guide, on this very belief. I was watching in real time how posts that didn't go viral were still selling hundreds of purchases. From a financial standpoint, that was remarkable. But most importantly, it reminded me that what looks small on the surface can have deep impact underneath. Every single post mattered because I could see the actual result. That insight gave me an edge, my power to connect and convert. And that's something I could confidently go and bring into conversations with potential partners, not as speculation, but as data, as truth. Brands should be aiming to find talent who can deeply connect with their community versus going after talents with millions of passive followers. Because you should be looking for engagement rooted in trust, movement, and with measurable value. To date, I've locked in social media partnerships across several categories: fashion and beauty, tech and innovation, home, lifestyle and travel, media, culture, and spirits. And the beauty of it all is most of these partnerships have evolved past a single moment. They have grown into long-term relationships. And if I'm being honest, none of this was part of my original plan. I didn't set out thinking I'd be partnering with some of the world's leading brands, consulting for Fortune 500 companies, launching digital products, or standing on this Adweek stage speaking to you today. I was simply trying to tell stories that felt real, stories that looked like the communities I was a part of, stories that could make people feel seen, and that more than any metric is what kept opening doors. Because here's the truth, the digital space is always evolving. The algorithms will continue to shift and the platforms will be forever changing, but the ability to communicate with clarity, consistency, and care, that will never go out of style. And the people who do it well, the ones who lead with values, who stay rooted in their voice, those are the people shaping what's next. So whether you're a brand, a founder, a strategist, a creator, a professional, know this: you don't have to go viral to be valuable. You don't have to chase trends to make an impact. You just have to tell the truth well and tell it often. So if you remember one thing from today, let it be this: the most powerful collaborations don't just elevate a brand, they reflect a culture. Your story is your power, and the right partnerships won't ask you to change it. They'll help you tell it louder. Thank you.